Hello my friends and welcome to my morning coffee. I am so happy you popped by. I am in full Halloween mode and today's projects are more of the spooky cute kind and I had so much fun making them. So if you're up to it, bear with me and I will show you my process for making a big Halloween card and a matching tag. Let's dive in head first, shall we? I was in a mood for Aall and Create, so I looked through my stash and will combine new stamps and dies with older. I knew I wanted to use these two Halloween stamp sets with ghosts and trick-or-treaters. I also wanted to use these new dies of a circle and a tag with loopy edges. I ended up not using the leaves I'm showing you here. But I did find some oldie but goodie stamps that I love, like this set with a road sign I will be needing, and a set with a fabulous car and some pumpkins I absolutely adore. Let's start with the stamping. I'm stamping my Halloween images on smooth watercolor cardstock with VersaFine Clear Nocturne ink. I also bring out Wow's Ebony Black Superfine embossing powder. I stamp and cover the images with that black embossing powder and melt the powder with my heat tool so I can get those bold black glossy outlines. I wanted to try something new to me, so I brought out a piece of vellum, treated it with an anti-static bag, then I stamp and heat emboss with that black embossing powder. And don't those ghosts look just amazing on that vellum? This time I heat the embossing powder from behind to make sure I don't overheat the vellum. So I have my main characters and at this point I move on to the backgrounds. I bought this sticky mat and it will hold my panels in place while I ink blend, using Distress Oxide inks in Black Soot, Lost Shadow, Spun Sugar and Kitsch Flamingo. These dies cut both that loopy first layer and a panel, and I cut the first layer from black cardstock and the panels from smooth white cardstock, and I place the panel on my sticky mat. Using a small blending brush, I blend Black Soot quite randomly like a dark moody sky over my panel. Then I blend the light grey Lost Shadow into the black to soften those harsh lines. Next I blend the pink into the grey, and when I have enough pink, I use a clean brush to blend out harsh lines and cover my panel with ink. When I'm done blending, I bring out two different kinds of sprays. I have Dilution's Black Shimmer Spray, but I also bring out Distress Spritz in Picked Raspberry, which has a pink shimmer in a clear liquid. I splatter that discreet pink shimmer over my panel using the straw to the sprayer, and then I move on and do the same with the Black Marvel Shimmer Spray. I do the same to my circle and I cut a black first layer and a white panel to go on top. I use post-it tape to mask off a road. And I bring out my trusty Tim Holtz moon masks and place the smallest moon mask in my right corner. I start by blending my lightest pink around my moon to help it glow. Then I do the same as before, blend the black followed by the light grey and some pink to achieve a creamy smooth blend. While my moon mask is still in place, I splatter that pink distress spritz over my background, followed by the Dilution's black marble shimmer splatters. I remove the moon mask and place the second moon mask over my white moon. I use spun sugar and Kitsch Flamingo oxide ink to blend over the moon mask, giving it a lovely texture. Lastly, I use what's left on my blending brush to soften the lines of the moon. Masking off with post-it tape, I blend black soot over what I want to be a road, but I end up moving the tape to get a wider black road. Then I do the same procedure as before to get a background that continue in front of the road. When I have two backgrounds I am happy with, I blend black ink around the edges of each panel to frame them. Now let's color my images using distress inks and black marble shimmer spray. I smoosh my inks on my glass mat and will use a round brush to pick up color and water to blend my inks. For all my pumpkin stems I use black and grey inks, and I use black and 2 shades of grey for my first pumpkin, adding black where I want my shadows and blending it out with grey inks and water. For the 2 smaller pumpkins I use the same pink inks, but I add the darker seedless preserves and picked raspberry to deepen the shadows. I color a few more of these pumpkins off camera and alternate between black-grey pumpkins and pink pumpkins. For the car I used black marble shimmer spray for the tires, and for the car itself I start with my darkest pink seedless preserves and work my way through the other pinks to my lightest pink spun sugar and blend that out with water where I want highlights. I also use a bit of grey for the bumper, etc., and yellow-orange for the lights on the car. For these adorable ghosts I'm using pink and add a smidge of dark pink where I want shadows, blend the dark pink out with a lighter pink and fade all the pink out to white with water. I use different shades of pink, purple and orange for the patterned sleeves and their trick-or-treat bags. For this trick-or-treater I use black and grey for the costume, a little skin tones for the hands and face, and pink for the hair and shoes. I also added a teeny tiny bit of grey for the mask. For this little dude I used orange and yellows for the pumpkin costume. I used shades of pink for his hair and purple for his sleeves and shoes. I also used koi watercolor markers for a quick skin tone, just as I did on the previous trick-or-treater. I'm using black marble shimmer spray for the bats and the same pink and oranges for the teeny tiny candy pieces. So I have all my characters colored, but let's see what we can do for the Vellum experiment. I mainly want the ghosts, and since they are on Vellum, I need to use an alcohol-based coloring medium. So I brought out my Uhuhu alcohol markers and colored in the same shades of pink and orange, but I did the coloring on the back side, so the colors are more muted. I use a black alcohol marker for the bats, and while I had the markers out, I colored all my vellum images off camera, and it turns out I had a use for them after all. Next, I have this Tim Holtz and Sisik's alphabet die set, and I cut 4 of each letter in black for the word October. I also cut out with another small die set 4 of each letter to the words you are. And from the Aall and Create die set, I cut the number 31 in 4 layers and the shadows to those numbers from Vellum. I intend to stack all of my 4 layers of black letters for that dimension I crave. To give my black stacked letters spelling October some color, I cut the same letters from this piece of cardstock that I blended with the same pink inks from before. I run them through my Gemini Junior die cut machine and get these pink ombre letters. So here I am gluing 4 layers of black letters together to add dimension and texture. I also stack the small letters, but I'll spare you that tedious footage, and I stack the 4 layers of numbers also. I glue the stacked numbers onto their vellum shadow, and then I move on to glue the pink ombre letters on top of my black word October. I changed my mind, so off camera I cut the words you are from white cardstock to help those little words stand out. Time to start building my projects, and I have a big white card base and I have a black panel slightly smaller that I glue onto my white base, but I didn't have a black panel that covered the white backside, so I used what I had and glued the 2 pieces I had onto the back of my card base, and here is where my pink letters and black numbers have a purpose. I glue the number 31 so the numbers connect the 2 black pieces, and then I add my pink word October in the same way. From the Ghost stamp set, I heat embossed the word beautiful in black on white cardstock, then I used the same pink inks again to give the sentiment strip some color. To be able to write a message on my tag, I cut a loopy tag from white cardstock and glue the top of the white tag onto the back of the black tag, so it opens like a card. Next, I had a pumpkin left over, so I glued it onto the back of my big card, and also a sentiment strip saying Happy Haunting. Since I am a more is more kinda gal, I took these vellum images I had over and glued those trick-or-treaters in the lower right corner. I glue my ink-blended circle panel onto my black loopy circle and glue them both on to my card front. Next, I finally get to glue down my pink car, and my trick-or-treaters driving it. Isn't that a scary thought? And my beloved pumpkins. I give my ghosts some dimension with foam squares before I glue them down, and then I glue down the bats and lots of candy. To balance this big card, I need one more sentiment saying Fright Night, and I heat emboss it in black on that ink blended piece of cardstock. Next, I glue down those tiny stacked, now white letters saying "You are", and under those die-cut words I put the sentiment strip saying "Bootiful". So it says "You are bootiful". I glue down the Fright Night sentiment with foam squares to the left, and then I add some more bats for good measure. Now my big card is almost finished, so I turn my attention to the tag and glue the inky panel onto the black tag. I glue a happy haunting sentiment strip to that wood sign and glue the sign on to my tag. Then I will add a pumpkin and finally my vellum ghosts, and I only put glue behind the embossed lines so the glue won't show through the vellum. Of course, I also add a couple of bats and loads of candy. The last thing I need for these projects is some glossy accents that will give a glossy domed effect, and I add it to the trick-or-treater's eye, to the tiny letters, to the sentiment strip on the wood sign, and a few candies. And now, this Halloween mixed media Aall and Create card and tag are finished. Thank you so much for popping by, and I hope to see you soon again. Until the next time, happy Halloween crafting.